Thank you all so much for joining us on our 10 Tampa Bay social platforms and here on 10tampabay.com as well. I am Ryan Bass. It is an emotional night here in Tampa as we are here for some special coverage of tonight's honorary boat procession along the Hillsborough River in memory of these 3 law enforcement officers that we have lost this year in the line of duty. Tampa PD's Jesse Madsen, Sergeant Brian Levine from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, and Deputy Michael Magley with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. All 3 of these law enforcement officers lost their lives in car crashes in just the last 3 months. 16 boats representing state and local law enforcement agencies will meet just right now at Platt Street Bridge and sail with their blue lights on north towards the armature works. Once they're there, they're going to turn around and be led back down the river by 3 boats representing Madsen, Levine, and Magley. They'll then bring brought back to the Tampa Convention Center. We have crews live along the procession route, including at Armature Works. You see Emerald Morrow and Angelina Salcido there. They're going to flip around at Armature, but the starting point is going to be at the Platt Street Bridge. That is where we find 10 Tampa Bay's Emerald Morrow right now. At Emerald, it is going to be a somber night as we honor these heroes, including Officer Madsen, that have all been taken from us way too soon.
Absolutely right, Ryan. Just way too soon. And what a strong showing of support for all of these fallen law enforcement officers. I'm going to step out of the way to see if you guys can get a last glimpse of all of the boats that are coming through right now. You can see them with their flashing lights. They have just passed from under the Platt Street Bridge, and as you mentioned, will continue down the river to Armature Works and then will come back. But again, this has been such an incredibly difficult time for the entire Tampa Bay community and for law enforcement as a whole. You know, we laid to rest today Officer Jesse Madsen, who was just someone who was very, very brave, and up until his very last breath served the Tampa Bay community. I had the opportunity to talk with one of his colleagues, and that would be former TPD officer and current Tampa City Councilman Orlando Goods. And he talked about getting to know this man while he was on the force in his very, very early days. They patrolled the Robles Park neighborhood. And if you know anything about that area, you know, you've got to really be able to understand that community to effectively police that area. And he said that he was just always really willing to get in there and talk with the community and just be a part of that community. And he also had 7 life-saving awards during his time that he served as a TPD officer. And Orlando Goods said that, you know, that is such a huge deal because when you think about the gravity of those words, life-saving, it really means something. And to know that that is how he spent his last few moments of his own life just really, really hits hard. You know, he leaves behind a wife. He also leaves behind some young children. So this community mourns for the loss of this officer. And I also had the opportunity to cover that night that Deputy Magley was killed. And that was such an incredibly difficult night as well, because that was the first time ever in Pinellas County history that a deputy had been killed in the line of duty. So that was a very difficult loss at that time. So again, I want you to take another look right now as we honor those who have given their lives to protect you, to protect me, to protect all of us, as the blue lights flash and go underneath these bridges in a show of solidarity for law enforcement and for these 3 lives that were just gone way, way too soon. So again, just want to mention that those lights will continue to flash as they go down the river, all the way down to Armature Works, and as they come back up this way to the Tampa Convention Center, we're going to be right here. And we will check back in, but right now we're going to send it back to you, Ryan, as we continue to follow this very, very important night.
I know armature, going to armature work, right? Going to armature work, right?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Maybe if we get to the side of it a little bit.
Yeah, when they turn around or right now?
Or right now.
Probably try and pick up a little bit and get up there.
Yeah.
We'll try and pick up a little bit. We won't. I don't want to wake them too badly.
You're fine. I'm done. Hey, this is Matthew. So you got all that? You got it from my camera or not? Okay. Alright, now I'm gonna rest because they're gonna turn back around. We're fine. Alright, and I'll text you when they're coming back. Basically, let me explain what they're gonna do. So they're gonna turn back around, and only the front three boats are gonna have their lights on because it's you said the front three are Hillsboro.
I am on, by the way. Pinellas and then the Big Hill.
I'll text you.
Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah, because I was thinking right here.
procession for these 3 law enforcement officers that we have lost here in our Tampa Bay community. They are making their way down here to Armature Works. I'm going to step out of the way so that you guys can see what's happening right now. They're going to come down. They've come down for the Tampa Convention Center, all 16 of them. They will come down kind of round the corner, and then they're going to be making a turn. That's when 3 boats will take the helm of this 16 vessel procession. Those 3 boats will signify the 3 lives of those 3 law enforcement officers that were taken in the line of duty. This is what makes this procession so powerful. This is the chance for the Tampa Bay community and our law enforcement officers here to honor the lives of these 3 officers that we've lost this year. The most recent officer, Master Patrol Officer Jesse Madsen, the most recent loss, the 45-year-old, leaves behind a wife and 3 kids. He was close to home when he died on March 9th. The Tampa Police Department says Madsen was a hero. He intentionally drove his patrol SUV into the path of a speeding drunk driver heading the wrong way on I-275. Chief Dugan says he put his life on the line to save other people's lives, and he leaves behind a wife and 3 kids. A month before Officer Madsen was taken, Pinellas County Deputy Michael Magley died on February 17th. The 30-year-old is the first deputy to die in the line of duty in the 109-year history of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff's Office says that Deputy Magley was helping other deputies in the pursuit of a reckless driver who was also drunk. He got out of his cruiser to put out stop sticks to try and stop that driver. When he did that, he and his cruiser were hit by that driver, and he lost his life. He was a husband and a father of 2. Before Deputy Magley, we lost Master Corporal Brian Levine with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. He was killed on January 11th. That day was supposed to be his second to last shift before his retirement. An hour before nightfall, he sat in his squad car on the shoulder while a disturbance happened nearby. The man involved in that disturbance led deputies on a pursuit, and he drove into Master Corporal Levine's cruiser and took his life. He was the first Florida law enforcement officer to die in the line of duty this year. He was also a husband and a father of 2 adult children. One of them is actually a Hillsborough County Sheriff's deputy as well. So as we take a look at the procession of the 16 boats come by now, they're making and rounding the corner here. And we're going to start seeing 3 boats start to take the helm of this procession to signify these 3 law enforcement officers that we have lost this year so far. I know that you guys have been watching them come down the Hillsborough River, kind of in a straight line. Obviously, that formation is going to be changing. And here at Armature Works, you know, not many people knew that this was going to be happening. A few people did know, came out to pay their respects to these 3 law enforcement officers. And now you can tell that the moon has changed. Things have gotten a lot more somber, and everyone is just watching in awe as we see this procession continue to float down the Hillsborough River. As you continue to watch here, you're going to see that we have 2 more boats left that are making the round of this corner here. Once they reach the end of the river, they turn their lights off, and you'll see in the distance, you're going to see the 3 boats for the 3 law enforcement officers that we have lost continue to float down the Hillsborough River.
We continue our coverage tonight of the boat procession honoring those fallen law enforcement. What you're seeing right now are the first 3 boats that are coming through going under the Platt Street Bridge. Each of those boats represents one of the fallen law enforcement officers that we have had this year. Deputy Levine, Deputy Michael Magley, and Officer Jesse Madsen. Now, it's been a very tough year for law enforcement here in the Tampa Bay area. Today, the city laid to rest Officer Jesse Madsen, who was killed when he veered into a wrong-way driver. And Tampa Police Chief Brian Dugan hailed him as a hero, acting to prevent anyone else from being killed. So we're taking a look right now as those other 3 boats have passed through. We've got more boats representing other law enforcement agencies coming through. You can see under the bridge, we've got everything lit up in blue in a show of support for law enforcement. Now, one interesting thing that I don't think we've talked about, a very sad thing, Deputy Levine, Hillsborough County deputy, he was killed just 1 shift away from his retirement. He was set to retire after serving Hillsborough County for 30 years. And Deputy Magley, he was killed trying to stop that drunken driver. He was putting down stop sticks when the sheriff says the driver crashed into him and killed him. Now, this was the first time that any deputy in Pinellas County had ever been killed in the line of duty. So this, again, a very incredibly difficult time for law enforcement across our area. And now what we have is the families. We have to look at these families who have to wrestle with life without their loved one being here, and they must find a way to go on. So the city has really rallied around all of the families, and Hillsborough County, as well as Pinellas County, and the entire Tampa Bay community has really, really wrapped their arms around the people who are left to mourn those that we have lost. And many of the local police organizations, they're raising money for these families to help them carry on. They're making sure they're there for the widows, making sure they're there for the children, because these deputies and the police officer did leave behind young children. So that, again, is something that they must wrestle with. But tonight, as the city lights up in blue and these boats honoring these 3 men sail down the river, we take a moment to pause, and we take a moment to reflect on these lives that were taken far too soon.